Welcome to Tattletale. Here's today's story. I stayed one stop too long and the train wouldn't let me off. I take the same train home every evening 6:47 p.m. northbound, 6 stops. I could recite the station names in my sleep. I've done this commute for years. Routine. Predictable. That night started the same way. I was exhausted, earbuds in, scrolling mindlessly through my phone while the city flickered past the window. People shuffled on and off. Business suits. Gym bags. Rosary totes. The usual parade of tired strangers. I remember glancing up around what should have been my stop. The doors were closed. The train was still moving. I checked the time, 7:12 p.m. I'd passed it. That's weird, I thought. I never miss my stop. I always feel it in my body, the shift, the announcement, the rhythm of people moving. I stood up. Walked to the door. Nothing unusual. No announcements, no flashing lights. Just the hum of the train and the tunnels racing by. I figured I'd get off at the next station and walk back. Maybe I'd zoned out harder than I realized. But then 5 minutes passed. 10. No stations. And then something strange. I looked around and realized I was alone. Totally. No commuters. No conductor walking through the cars. No one. Just me. And a train that was still moving deeper into tunnels I didn't recognize. That was the first time I noticed the windows. There was no graffiti anymore. No ads. Just black. I moved car to car, calling out just in case someone else was tucked into a corner, asleep or wearing noise-cancelling headphones. Nothing. The silence was starting to feel unnatural. Not just empty. Expectant. I pulled the emergency stop cord. It snapped back like a rubber band and no resistance. No alarm. Not even a click. That's when I noticed something even more unsettling. The train's LED panel, the one that normally cycles through station names, was blank. Just black bars. No next stop, no time, no warning. I tried my phone. No signal. No Wi-Fi. The clock still worked at 7:36 p.m. I should have been home by now. I sat back down trying to stay calm. Logical. Maybe the system glitched. Maybe there was some power routing issue and the train was being diverted. It happens, right? Rare, but not impossible. Except, I glanced at the windows again, and something had changed. The tunnel walls weren't moving anymore. Not really. It looked like we were passing through the same stretch of track over and over. Same smudged panel. Same dripping pipe. Same faint chalk tag on the left seat. Every time I blinked, it repeated. I counted 6 loops before I stopped. And that's when the intercom buzzed to life. It wasn't the usual voice. Not cheerful. Not automated. This one was slow. Deliberate. It just said my name. Once. Drawn out. Like it was trying to shape me for the first time. Then silence. I sat there, frozen. The intercom had gone silent again. No static. No train noise. Just that same quiet hum, like the whole system was holding its breath. I stared at the speaker above the door, half expecting it to crackle back on. But nothing followed. It just said my name. And the worst part? I never gave it my name. Not to a ticket app. Not to a pass scanner. Not even to the transit card I use every day. It's not registered. So how did it know? I stood up again. Walked to the front of the car and pushed open the door to the next one. Still empty. Same worn seats. Same overhead ads. But the ad posters now showed blank frames. Like someone had peeled them away. One of them had faint writing beneath the glass. Not printed. Scratched in. Do not answer. That was it. No context. No logo. Just 4 words etched like someone had done it quickly before they were caught. I moved to the next car. And the next. All of them empty. And then, finally, I saw something through the window to the next car. A figure. Back turned. Sitting in one of the side-facing seats. My heart jumped. Relief, maybe. Just a flicker. But I was desperate to see another face. Anyone. I slid the door open. Stepped inside. I started. The figure didn't move. I walked closer. The lighting in this car was slightly dimmer, like one of the bulbs had burnt out. Hey, you okay? Still nothing. I stopped just a few feet away. And that's when I realized. The figure was wearing my jacket. Same one I put on before work. Same tear in the cuff. Same folded hood. I stepped around the seat. And what I saw sitting there wasn't me. Not exactly. It looked like me, but the face wasn't finished. Like someone had painted a version of me from memory and left the details blurred. The eyes weren't looking, they were just placed. The lips didn't part. The skin didn't crease. And then, it moved. The head tilted slowly. Not to look at me, just to listen. And from the ceiling speaker the voice returned. But this time, it said something different. You shouldn't have stayed past your stop. I didn't speak. Didn't run. Just stood there, heart pounding, staring at the thing that looked like me but wasn't. Its head tilted farther than it should have, too far. Like its neck didn't have limits. It didn't blink. Didn't breathe. And the voice overhead repeated the line, this time slower. You shouldn't have stayed past your stop. The lights in the car flickered. Once. Twice. Then held steady. I backed away slowly, hand reaching for the connector door. The not me didn't move. But I couldn't shake the feeling that if I turned my back on it, I wouldn't make it to the next car. Who are you? I whispered. It smiled. Not like a person. Like someone remembering what a smile looked like. Then it raised one hand and pointed at the floor. At first I didn't see it, but there etched into the grime between the seats was another message. You got off once already. I shook my head. No, I didn't. The speaker buzzed again. Cycle resumed, subject repeating behavior. The light above the door turned red, and then the train lurched. Not a stop. A drop. The whole car dipped for just half a second like a roller coaster cresting over something that shouldn't exist on a rail line. I grabbed the nearest pole. Looked up. The figure was gone. Seat empty. I turned in a full circle. Nothing. No sound. No footsteps. Just the hum of motion. But now the train felt different. Faster. Undled. Like it was no longer moving forward but descending. The LED panel came back to life. No station name. Just a single word, pulsing slowly in red. Lower. The word lower kept pulsing on the LED panel. I watched it flash 3 times before I forced myself to move again. Every part of me was telling me to get off the train, but there were no doors anymore. Not really. I checked everyone in the car. They were sealed. No seams. Just outlines where they used to be. Like whatever ran this place decided I didn't need exits anymore. I pushed into the next car. It was colder. The lights were dimmer. The floor slanted just enough that I had to lean backward to stay balanced. And the windows, if you could even call them that now, were showing nothing. Not tunnels. Not tracks. Just motionless, depthless black. Like we were no longer underground. Like we were under something else. I stopped at the far end of the car, resting my hand against a support pole to steady my legs. That's when I noticed someone had scratched another message into the metal. Sit upright or it learns you. I didn't know what that meant. Not yet. But the slope of the floor was definitely increasing. Barely noticeable before now it pulled on my knees. I glanced back at the window. Still black. But for a second I thought I saw something flicker past. Not fast, slow. Like a shape coasting just outside the car, just behind the darkness. I pressed my forehead to the glass trying to make out any detail. And then it pressed back. Just for a second. A shape. Human-sized. Face-shaped. Matching mine. Then gone. I staggered back. The speaker crackled again. A third time. Recalibrating subject, attempting stabilization. The lights flickered. And the world flipped. The floor dropped forward, hard. Like gravity had changed its mind about what direction was down. I fell, slammed shoulder first into a seat rail. Rolled. Hit the wall, which was now the floor. The train kept moving. But now I was crawling through it sideways. I tried to stand. Pressure wouldn't let me. Somewhere deep inside the walls, I heard a metal groaning. Cables tightening. Machinery flexing like it was adjusting to a new condition. Nay. The intercom clicked one last time. Subject has not adapted. Introducing second self. And just ahead, in the next car, I heard the hiss of a door opening, even though the doors weren't supposed to open anymore. The door at the end of the car slid open with a hiss. I stayed low, one shoulder pressed against the slanted floor. Gravity still hadn't returned to normal. Every movement felt like it could send me sliding into something I couldn't see coming. I heard footsteps. Slow. Nettered. Coming from the next car. And then I saw a silhouette moving toward me through the warp window in the connector door. Same height. Same build. Same posture. I backed away. The figure stepped into view, and I saw its face. Mine. Not blurry. Not distorted like the last one. This one was perfect. Down to the way the collar of its jacket folded. It looked right at me, tilted its head just a little, like I was the part that didn't belong. We stared at each other through the glass. I whispered, "What are you?" It didn't respond. Just placed its hand flat on the window. I didn't mirror it. That seemed to make it smile barely. Then it spoke. Not out loud. Not through the speaker. It spoke in my head. Like a thought that didn't come from me. "You're out of alignment." Then it turned and walked back into the car it came from. Not away. Not disappearing. Waiting. Like it had made its move, and now it was my turn. The intercom buzzed again, almost hesitant this time. Synchronization required for exit. That made my skin crawl. I stood up slowly, bracing against the warped gravity. The train groaned again, shifting angle. The tilt began to correct. My feet hit level fall for the first time in what felt like hours. I started walking. Car by car. No voices. No passengers. Just signs of failed loops. Abandoned items. Bags left under seats. A shoe in the aisle. An umbrella jammed into a window frame. At one point, I passed a phone playing a silent video looping security footage of me standing still, staring at a version of myself who had already passed this point. I made it to the final car. The figure myself was sitting in the frontmost seat, facing forward, like he was waiting for the end. He didn't look at me this time, just said aloud, "You're almost through." I didn't know what that meant, but I sat down across from him and said the only thing that felt honest. "Am I the original?" He finally looked at me, and for the first time since I got stuck on this train, he blinked. He blinked. Once. And then gave the faintest shrug. Like he didn't know the answer either. Or maybe he did, and didn't think I was ready to hear it. "I asked you something," I said. He looked out the window, even though there was nothing out there now. Not black. Not motion blur. Just blankness. Like the world stopped being rendered past the walls of the train. "You think this is about being the original," he said quietly. "It's not." "Then what is it?" He tapped the seat between us. "Alignment, loop completion, exit protocol." He spoke like someone reciting instructions. Like a manual had been hard-coded into him. Into me. I clenched my fists. I didn't ask to be in this. I didn't agree to any of it. That's what the last one said. I froze. "The last one?" He nodded, finally meeting my eyes again. "The last version, before you, before me, before the one before that. All of us thinking we were waking up for the first time." He leaned forward. Cycle 204. I felt something crack inside me. Not physically, mentally. A memory surfacing that didn't belong to this version of me, but some version. Standing on the same train. Same seat. Same conversation. And saying the same thing. "But this time feels different," I whispered. He smiled just a little. "They all do." Then he stood up and gestured to the far end of the car. The front. For the first time, the conductor's door was open. Not all the way. Just enough to see a single red light beyond it. And a lever. Gleaming. Untouched. I stepped toward it slow. My other self didn't follow. He sat back down. Rested his arms on his knees. "If you pull it," he said, "the train stops." "Good," I said. "Not for you," he replied. I turned. "Then who's it for?" His eyes didn't blink this time. "They get out when you pull the brake, the ones before you, the ones inside the loop." My voice dropped. "And what happens to me?" He didn't answer. He just nodded toward the door. And behind me, the intercom gave one last message. "Final station available upon request, termination or transfer required." I stared at the lever. The red light above it flickered once, then held. The lever was warm. Not metal warm. Body warm. Like someone had just touched it before me. Like 100 hands had hovered here and hesitated at this exact moment. I didn't pull it right away. I turned back to the version of me still sitting at the front of the car, calm, patient, amiable. Like he'd lived through this moment already. "Why are you just sitting there?" I asked. He didn't answer. So I asked the better question. "What did you choose?" He gave a small, tired smile. "You already know." And I did. Because I was here. In this version. In this moment. Which meant he had pulled the brake before. And I was what came next. Not the first. Not the last. Just the newest version of someone who kept thinking they were waking up when really, they were just being handed a wheel. I looked back at the lever. The red light above it pulsed, waiting. Final station available upon request. The wording mattered. It always had. This wasn't escape. It wasn't freedom. It was exit. A request. A choice. But not without a cost. I took a breath, wrapped my fingers around the handle, and pulled. The click was almost gentle, like the train had been expecting it. The lights went out, not flickered, vanished. The hum stopped. Gravity settled. Stillness. For the first time in what felt like forever, the train wasn't moving. Silence stretched. Then a single chime rang out. Distant. Soft. Almost kind. And the doors opened. Not into a platform. Not a city. Just light. And within it figures. Not shadows. Not clones. People. Moving slowly, blinking like they hadn't seen light in years. Some looked confused. Some were crying. And some just a few looked at me and nodded. Like they knew me. Or had been me. I stepped out. And as soon as I did, I felt it. A release. Not like waking up. Like letting go. Behind me, the train doors slid shut. No hiss. No chime. Just a quiet seal. And as the light dimmed, I realized something. I couldn't remember where I boarded. I couldn't even remember why I got on. Only that the alarm had sounded at 2:31 a.m. and I didn't get off in time. The light faded slowly. Not like a bulb dimming, but like fog lifting after a long, silent storm. Shapes took form. Not buildings. Not streets. Just space. Wide open. Familiar in that dreamlike way where you almost remember it like a place you visited once as a kid or saw in a photo you can't place. The air smelled like cold stone and something older. Something clean. Unused. The people who stepped off the train with me were scattered. Some wandered. Some collapsed to the ground crying. A few knelt and touched the floor like they were grounding themselves in something real. I stood still, trying to understand what this was. A platform. A processing room. A waiting area. That's when I noticed the signs. They weren't above us, they were beneath our feet. Embedded into the floor in faint glowing script. One pulse beneath where I stood. Cycle complete, waiting for return signal. And beneath that, you have no more versions to send. I stared at it. Read it again. No more versions. Not cycles. Not you're free. Not you did it. Just a quiet end to a queue I never chose to be in. I turned to one of the others, a woman with short hair and a coat like mine, but not exactly. Her face was streaked with tears. Do you remember how long you were in there? I asked. She shook her head slowly. I don't even remember boarding. That line again. And I knew we'd all say it. Eventually. Because that's how the loop worked. You remember the end. But not the beginning. A tone sounded above us. Everyone looked up. A single black train car just one appeared in the white space behind us. No track. No wheels. Just there. Waiting. Its door slid open. A new figure stepped out. Confused. Still. Looking around. Alone. I didn't need to ask who they were. They were the next one. Their cycle had just begun. And we were the pattern they'd leave behind. I stepped away from the sign. Away from the platform. Into the new place forming ahead, whatever it was. Not heaven. Not escape. But something after. Somewhere quiet. No more alarms. No more passengers. Just peace. And for the first time since the train began, I didn't look back.